Welcome to the Agency Action Podcast, starring Kurt Von Annen, the legend, and myself. I'm Toby Crines. We have a great show today, but I want to start with telling us happy birthday. We have been going for over a year now. We started May 5th last year, 2025. And
I can't believe Matt hasn't signed in as one of his surprise guest visits to sing happy birthday to us
exactly. Where are you at, Matt? But also thank you all. Thank Matt. I think Matt's, he's just like a core part of the WordPress community globally, or at least in the US. I think he's been that for a long time, and this podcast is just part of his legacy and efforts. And so thanks to Matt, of course, but also thank you, Kurt. It's been a great year, and let's keep going.
Yeah, right back at you. It's funny because iron sharpens iron, all those great phrases, but I really look forward to our conversations because it just like the listener, it's great for me too. Like, it's just fun to interact and have the conversation, and this would be a great time. Encourage people, like, share, follow, obviously, but we really need your comments, your questions, your concerns in running an agency, so we know what content to come forward with. So it'd be awesome if you would just participate. All right, now let's jump in. What would you do, Toby, now that you are a seasoned 1 year in podcast professional? Now that you're in the game, what would you do if you received a cold email where a company said, "Hey, really love some of the content you're putting on the Mighty Mo, and we think that your content's extremely relevant, and you would be great on our podcast. We'd like to break the ice and schedule a call with you." What would you think?
So let's assume you've already done some research and determined it's not a scam spam. So, yeah, I'd be flattered. Yeah, absolutely. Let's do this. This sounds fun. I already do podcasts. This sounds easy and interesting, and I never get invited onto new podcasts. So this sounds great. That would be my gut reaction.
Yeah.
But then what happens, Kurt, if you go on there and you find out it's a pitch?
It's a pitch. So I told the guy, because I'm sure anyone that listens to this knows I'm a pretty direct communicator. So we get on the Zoom call, and I say to this guy, I go, "Hey, Brandon, be honest with you, got no idea why I'm on the call. Like, I don't know if you're trying to hire me. Like, do you need me as the talent for your existing show? Or are you trying to pitch me, a podcast service?" And then he didn't really answer the question. We ended up talking for 30 or 40 minutes. Got to tell you, super nice guy. I really enjoyed my time with him. He asked a lot of really great questions that really helped me identify my avatar, my audience, who I want to talk to. It was great. But in the end, it was a pitch. They wanted to pitch me a done-for-you podcast service to launch a new podcast.
Great.
To the guy that is already on 5 podcasts a week.
So I had a similar scenario just this week where I was invited out to coffee, and with somebody that I don't know well at all locally, but I actually really appreciate some of their senses of humor, and I just kind of follow them online a little bit. And same thing, we had a great conversation. We're at coffee, and at the end, he's pitching me. I'm like, is he pitching me? I thought we were just here to talk and have a good time. What's going on? And yep, he's pitching me. And he's like, how about I get back to you on that? I'm like, wait, what? You're pitching me? Is everybody pitching these days? Why is everybody pitching?
Everybody's pitching. It is a nightmare. I spent, 3 years promoting LinkedIn as my number one connection tool, right? And my inbox in LinkedIn is an absolute smoking heap of disaster. Everybody's in there with 6 or 7 paragraphs about why they're awesome and I should hire them. If they could get me 10 or 15 qualified leads a month, what would that be worth to me?
Right.
So I did something interesting when I talked to Brandon with the podcast thing. And I don't know, this is something that I do, and I don't know that other people do it. When someone's pitching me, I think to myself, if I wasn't already self-sufficient in this space, is this somebody I'd like to work with? And like I said, Brandon was a nice guy. He asked a lot of good questions. His pitch actually wasn't that bad. I'm not his customer. And so I made it very clear. I said, Brandon, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not your customer. I'm not your customer. But that doesn't mean I hate you, right? So let's figure this out. Um, let's say I'm an agency, which I am. I'm an agency and I have a lot of e-learning projects and community projects, and I deal with coaches and community managers and all these things. Some of those people might wake up one day and go, holy crap, I should start a podcast, but they don't know how. And I'm not in the podcast business. And newsflash, Mañana No Mas doesn't want to be in the podcast business. So what if I just referred those people to you? And he was like, oh, that'd be great. And I said, but hold on. It's a two-way street, Brandon. So if you have people that have a killer podcast and they say the podcast is doing awesome, we should really have a community site, or we should really, start some online training with the subject we do the podcast about. Well, then I'm your guy, right? Like, can we have that agreement? And he goes, that sounds perfect. And then I did something that's a little different than I think other people. He started talking like affiliates and like bird dogging and stuff. And I was like, no, that's too messy. That's too sloppy. Just make a warm introduction, take the client. When you send me a client, I'm taking the client. Like, trying to chase down or get upset about paid or unpaid affiliates or referrals is a pain in the rear end, and I don't do it anymore.
Yeah. Uh, was told a story yesterday by someone else. They were a marketer, a mid-level marketer at an $80 billion corporation. And they
What's
would get
mid-level
the
there?
right. Yeah. They would get these calls from, like, what would you do if I can get you 13 leads? That sort of thing. And he was telling me he would get these calls and, he was like, I'll just hear it. It sounds kind of interesting. My friend has no decision-making responsibilities at the company, mind you. But like, he'd take the call, the person would be like, okay, do you have a budget for this? He's like, I don't really have a budget. And he's like, well, what's like would you say like you have a $3 to $5 million budget? My friend's like, yeah, probably.
We have $80 billion.
So like, this is my friend telling the story. He's like 45 minutes in, the guy's like, so what do you think? What do you think? He's like, why? I don't make any decisions here. I just thought this might be an interesting conversation.
Oh, my experience in corporate has me so jaded because I was on the inside for so long. Like, I can remember the vice president I worked under at a large company being like, hey, Kurt, we need to run out and get some bids on X, Y, and Z. And I go, are we doing X, Y, and Z? And he's like, nah, we just need the information.
Yeah.
Dude, why are you wasting my time? You're wasting my time. You're wasting their time. You're making me look like an idiot. Whatever, dude. So I would just tell people, I just need a quote. And then I tell them right away, like, no, we're not doing this. We're not a customer. We're just fishing.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about just like, I'm thinking like hiring, uh, and specifically like I'm changing the subject, by the way.
Yeah, okay.
Because I'm like, this is great. It seems to have run its course. Let's move on. George Carlin used to do this thing. He'd finish a bit every now and then. He'd be like, I have no finish for this, so I just take a bow. And that was like his transition. And he would just say that. Listen, just taking a bow. I have no finish. But okay. So you're an agency. You need to rebuild your website. This is a common thing. You need to redesign, rethink your messaging. You could do it internally, and maybe you've tried 5 or 6 times over the last decade and never really did it. And this is common. By the way, I've experienced this at big agencies too. Like, they have the same problem, and their solution is usually to hire it out. Like, they go, we know we do this for a living, but we can't do this internally because of all the pressures we have. Yeah. And so they go and hire a different agency that does exactly what they do. And this is big agency world. Like, they do this. And so I'm curious, Kurt, what would you do hypothetically if you wanted to rethink your website, branding, design, content?
Let's take hypothetical right off the table and just talk reality. I got hit with a cold email, and I'm usually not big on cold emails. And not only that, he sent the cold email to my wrong email address. So it really caught my attention. But as I read the email, they had done the research. Like, they looked at all the pages on our site. They did like an SEO kind of an audit kind of thing. They were like, what are your keywords? What are you trying to sell? This is why people are leaving your page. This is why you have a bounce rate of such and such. And like, boom, 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 and went through and pointed out some very specific things. And yeah, you nailed it. We've redone our website like 6 times in 10 years. And sometimes it's because I feel like we changed the page builder we were using. And I thought, well, if we're recommending this to clients, we should represent it through ourselves. And so let's redo this. Or let's change, our focused message is now on enterprise e-learning. So let's make sure we focus on enterprise e-learning and we redo something. The messaging is muddy. And I am, even though I'm on all these podcasts and even though I do all this stuff, I still hesitate to like shout from the rooftops, like, oh, I'm the expert. I'm the expert. And so I was taking like these really nice, like implied statements and trying to think that those were like great marketing things. And the guy's going through my website and he's like, this isn't specific. This isn't a real feature and benefit. This isn't and he's right. Like everything he said was right. Dude's from Pakistan. We jumped on a call. He immediately does a whole review of my website with me without charging me anything, does this whole review on screen share, does this whole thing. And he's right. Like everything he says is right. And it just ticks me off because I'm the agency. I should have had this right to begin with. Right. But I'm busy working on big projects. I've got Art of Makeup. I've got PF University. I've got all these things and I'm helping them with their copy. And I know what I noticed. And maybe you're in the same boat. And I know I'm talking long, so I'll make this quick. I can say the most courageous, bold, confident things about my clients on their websites. But when I'm talking about my own projects, I'm like falsely humble.
Yeah.
And so this guy comes along and he's like, you're not using strong enough words and phrases, man. We need to close these people. You need closing content that takes people to schedule a call or swipe a credit card. And I'm like, I agree. Okay. And so he gave me his rate, higher than I wanted to pay. But then I thought, you know what? I give people rates all the time, and sometimes it's higher than they want to pay. So I just agreed to it. And I said, let's see what happens. We'll do the homepage first. And 30, 60 days later, we'll look at the results and maybe I'll hire you to do the rest of the site. And I'll probably add him to the team at Manana No Mas.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do
That's
client
awesome.
sites too. Why not? If he's good.
Yeah, and there's both like this problem of being humble about our own stuff, but also uh, we, you people have other experiences like that, and other perspectives, and so like we are currently doing a redesign and rebrand at the Mighty Mo, where we're um, previously focused on a certain type of clientele, and now we're changing it to a different type of clientele. And for the first time ever in 20 years, I hired a brand copywriting person to like figure out what should be our messaging be on the homepage. And we've traditionally also been highly all of our not all our leads, but a good portion of our leads have come from SEO, and so we're really good at that. And our SEO expert is really uncomfortable with the current direction, and it's been interesting. I've had a number of conversations with him because he's saying, look, if you do this branded experience, we're going to lose some SEO, probably significant SEO footing.
Yeah.
And um, but I feel strongly like that we can convert more and convert better if our homepage copy at least is brand branded towards that. And by brand, I don't mean like about us. I mean like that the content is very like action oriented towards them, towards the people that are there. Um, One thing that we're experiencing now is that pull between our brand conversations on the website and the SEO metrics, and we've kind of landed at a middle ground where I've framed it up and said, look, I've made a decision. We're going with the brand. The brand is going to win this conversation, and
Yeah.
we're going to lose SEO rankings. And what else can we do now that you have that framework in mind? He's like,
Yeah.
well, I have ideas that we're going to have to invest more in third party linking, let's say, like, or like maybe we have to buy ads. And so, like, we're figuring it out.
Yeah.
Um, but we wouldn't have gotten there had we just done the same old thing.
To me it's super interesting, right? Because it's like fresh eyes, new perspectives, like I mentioned, confidence in the none of that fake humility stuff. And it's not fake humility. I mean, it's honest humility from my standpoint, but other people might see the content and go, oh, what's with this guy? And I think it's interesting, Toby. I do every now and then when we see, what we would call an influencer online, and you could name any of the names that you see in YouTube, all the people that have a lot of followers. they'll talk about heightened design sense or, the professional way to do something. And I go, okay, well, let's go look at their website. And I do. I go look at their websites and I go, blow me away. Show me something that's absolutely amazing. If I was a customer, what would make me want to buy from you? And a lot of times I don't see that there. Like, I think sometimes we put an undue pressure on ourselves, like everything's got to knock it out of the park. Um, so I don't want to like make it sound like it's a do or die thing, but I do want to have the best representation possible for my company. And so um, I I did the outside route, and it was funny because I walked out of my office kind of in shock. I made the decision myself. I told my wife, I go, I just hired someone to rewrite the Mañana No Mas website. And she goes, what? I was like, she goes, aren't you a writer? I was like, yeah, publish books and everything, but that doesn't mean that I can get people to buy something off my website. I need to have someone else give me some input. And if I did it in house, and I made compromises, like you had used that word compromise, I would get what I have now, you know? And you have a team, I have contractors. And so you have a team and you can talk about compromise and everybody's in the same boat kind of thing. But I'm working with contractors and I don't have their full attention like that. And so when I make a compromise, it really comes down to me. And if I'm making the compromise, I'm going to end up with the mush I've already got. So I'm like, I just got to pay this guy. And like I said, if it works, if the content's that stinking good, if it's worth what I paid, I'll hire him to do some of my client sites and we'll upsell it to people and make it a profit center.
This sparked an idea that I've been thinking about, but wasn't on our agenda. And I'm gonna go here. And what you
Well,
just said is like brilliant because what you're talking about is like you hire someone who has expertise and you trust them to do the thing despite what your gut is telling you should be there and your experience and your, you know, and this is very, very difficult for a business owner to do, by the way. If you work at corporate America, you might not feel it the same because you're like used to being told what to do and your butt's not always on the line and you're used to shirking responsibility maybe. Like try to I feel like one goal of every corporate American is a corporate American worker is to take as little responsibility as you can for everything. That's your like primary objective.
yes.
Now, when you own a company, it's the exact opposite. You own everything, whether you want to or not. And so, like, as a business owner, the longer you're in it, the less you trust other people because you're like, your butt's not on the line. I have to live with this decision tomorrow, next week, next year, 10 years from now. And so I've been working on this as a skill set internally to me to be like, I have experts. I'm going to let them run with it. And so this brand person is one, the SEO person is another. My project managers, I've been really, this has maybe been the toughest thing is to kind of let go of the relationships with customers and understand that even though, and this is going to sound like this old record that you've heard, but even though they're doing it differently, and I'm really uncomfortable sometimes with how the conversations go and what they're doing, that the relationship might be stronger because of it. Like that other perspective and that other experience. Because what I'm seeing is like, even though all that might be true, I'm very uncomfortable sometimes with the conversations that we're having with our clients sometimes, not always, but like, and I'm not talking like the directional conversation, but just the actual words that are being spoken. Sometimes I'm like, why
Yeah.
did we say that? But I've also, it allows for other things like allows space for fruits to bloom that if I just let go of that, and in your case maybe you just let go, you say they're going to write the copy, in my case the same, but like I'm just going to live with it, we're going to publish it, let's see what happens.
Let's evaluate the results. And that's the cool thing about what we do for a living, Toby, is we'll get results, right? We need to be able to evaluate them and they go, okay, was that a good decision or a bad decision? If my web visits, because here's the thing that surprises me. I am not so huge on SEO. I mean, do I use SEO? Yes. But am I living 15 hours a week in the SEO mindset? No, I'm not. I'm just not. And then I talk to people that are, and they're like, oh, impressions are up, conversions are down, this is that. And then they share their numbers with me. And then I go look at my Google console and I go, I'm right behind them. and I am not stressing out. I'm like, because I've always thought if I just have good content, good copy, I stay on target. I have, the URL's been around for 18, 20 years. Like it's certain things affect obviously stability. And I think if we offer value through our content, SEO recognizes that whether I'm trying to game the system or not. And then gaming the system, I don't put a ton of effort in. I tweak a couple things, tweak a keyword here or there, tweak a title. If I read a title and it looks weird, I'll tweak that. But I don't spend an inordinate amount of time on it. And I'm not that far behind from people that do. So I feel really strong in that space. And I feel like if this copywriter does their job and I get the same amount of impressions, right? But my conversions go up 5%, it's paid for itself.
Well, here's another flip side of that. Let's say they do it and it fails and your impressions don't go up. Maybe you get a little fewer. It's still, that experience has freed up quite a bit of time and headspace for you. And how will you use that headspace in that time, which is probably way more valuable than, if you had controlled the whole process and had slightly more leads or the same leads or whatever. And so this is kind of like how should you use that headspace and that time in some of this, you know, this could be how maybe you do personal things.
We
How would
we
you
don't
think
we
about
don't
that?
even need a George Carlin segue for this. You went right into it. Um, that's a great concept. So if I free up time and space and I have the mental aptitude and I'm physically able, how much, and this was really like a question I wanted to ask you rather than me taking the lead on it. How much of like that life happens, BS quotient do you tolerate in your day or your week? Like I know you take the kids to school. I know there's a coffee shop down the street you probably frequent, right? But like how much of like life happens do you let interrupt your productive week?
Ton, honestly. It's um my family right now for me and is my top priority in the sense. Well, I would say it's mixed priority because I do have to earn a living to pay for the pleasure of serving my family. But my family claims I have very limited boundaries around when my family puts a claim on my time. I'll say that. Like if they want to do something, my kids, my wife, I generally say yes. Like I default to yes. And I'm not saying that's healthy or, the thing that everyone should do by any means, because there's downsides to that too. Um, but generally life happens, encroaches every single day, probably multiple times a day. And I generally plan everything else around that. And so that might mean that my most productive hours are spent bringing my kids to school rather than working on the Mighty Mo. It might mean that I'm working later one night. It's tough, and I'm not happy with the decision, but I think it's the best decision for me right now. I'm not satisfied.
That's I think that's an interesting way that you say that. I have, I'm a person of faith, right? And so I go, well, this is just the lot in life that I've been given, and I've got to figure out how to deal with it. Because my wife will say, because I do get pretty upset about the cars. We have a fleet of cars in our driveway that seem to constantly need my attention, and somebody's always in a hurry to use one of the broken cars to get to somewhere important, right? And so today, perfect example. Power steering hose is coming in. We got a power steering leak. And when UPS gets here, I got to jump out there, crawl under a car, install the hose, flush the system, blah, blah, blah. The hose is $120 and then it's my time. If I were to have that car towed to a shop, it would cost $1,000 at the shop and $200 for the tow. So on one hand, I go, am I saving $1,000 or $1,100 doing the job myself? That's one way to look at it. It could be costing me 5 grand a day to not be at my desk answering the phone, answering
Right.
emails.
Hmm.
So how much life happens do you have an appetite for? And it's so in some ways I go, oh, well, this is my lot in life. Like my wife will say, oh, you have a lot of patience with this, that, or that. I go, babe, I've just made the acknowledgement. This is my lot in life. I've got to figure this out. So she's off on Mondays and Tuesdays now with this job she has. And Monday, she's like, what's your schedule today? Do you want to run the Sam's Club? Do I want babe, it's a work week. And then I realize in her heart of hearts, it's her day off. She wants company going to Sam's Club. So guess what? We're going to Sam's Club. And then she'll go to bed at 9 o'clock at night, and I might be embedding videos in somebody's course at midnight, getting caught up on work.
I get so frustrated by the scenario that you described that I experience every single day. Like this
Yeah.
thing we're talking about where like my immediate family here, is putting claims on my time, usually unannounced and usually at an annoying time for me.
Hey, what's your schedule today?
No, well, it's more like,
What are you
Dad,
doing right now?
I need you to do this right now. Okay.
I go back to when I was corporately employed. Like when I worked at Suzuki, I had to be at my desk at 8 o'clock in the morning and we left at 5 o'clock at night. That was and I was relieved to have that job because when I worked at Ducati, I was working an average of like, it was something weird, like 78 hours a week. I was averaging when I worked at Ducati, plus travel. I was on airplanes all the time when I was with Ducati. Uh, Oddly enough, I loved the job at Ducati. The job at Suzuki was a little more arduous. But there were no trips to Sam's Club on Monday morning when I worked at Suzuki, right? There were no answering the phone or sending text messages or being available at a beck and call for anything. There was no, oh, you got to be home at 3 o'clock. I'm getting a delivery and it needs to be signed for. Like there was none of that. I wasn't there. Like I am not an option Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. And sometimes I talk to other agency owners and they're like, I rented an office and I'm away from the house and I am at work from 9 to 6 or whatever it is. And while I'm tempted to be a hard ass like that, I really enjoy working from home and being able to pet the dog and go get lunch or an adult beverage at 3 o'clock. Or so I do it to myself too. So should I be angry or lose patience when other people want that time?
Yeah. And I think part of this comes down to there's this like question of why do you work? And like
Yeah.
there's a corporate response to that that is always really washed over, like and dumb, really. But like I've been thinking about that a lot and trying to just figure it out. And I don't have an answer, by the way, to why I'm working at the Mighty Mo and the way I am. Like Mighty
Yeah.
Mo exists because I enjoy it to some degree and it pays the bills and I'm good at it. Some combination of that. But like most people, I would much rather be at the beach or at
Yeah.
minimum working 2 days a week rather than six, you know?
If I'm bluntly honest with the audience right now, and this is a question, like, so this is like a comment worthy thing. I want people to comment. Like, if you're an agency, what day of the week and what time do you mow your lawn? Like sometimes I'm working on the computer, I just need a break. And it might be Wednesday at 2 o'clock. Yeah, I pull the mower out and go mow the lawn. My wife comes home at 6 o'clock from work and the lawn looks great. you know, but it's I'm not doing all my household chores, Saturday at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm and I guess if I were corporately employed, like when I did work at Suzuki, we went for walks 3 times a day. We had a morning break, we went for a walk, we walked at lunch, and we walked in the afternoon. It was something like everybody in the place did. And so I was walking like 3 miles a day during those breaks. So if that's not much different, right? Like I need a break at home just as like I need a break corporately, right? So I hop on the mower and I ride that around for 45 minutes. Um, but I'm curious to people listening at home, if you're an agency owner, when do you load the dishwasher? 10 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday? Because that's when most people would be working at a cubicle.
That's a great question. I love it. I also want to talk about this point you brought up in our outline. Like, the idea is like similar. You own a business and eh, you have outdated hardware, outdated software. It's going to cost money. And you had posted, I love these questions. How long should we push that laptop that gets super hot? How long should we subscribe to tool X, Y, and Z that isn't really meeting the full need? And then I would add to that, at what point do you build the tool, you vibe code the tool with AI now?
Yeah.
And it's similar to this because it's about your priorities, why you're working, what you want to work on. And for me, I'll say like I've really enjoyed building the AI tooling for our company, and I'm trying to free up more of my time at work to do that. Um, but how do you make these decisions as a business owner?
Well, I blew it. I really blew it when we lived in California. I had a really cool laptop. It was like, it was the cat's meow. The kids would have loved it, RGB keyboard and things lit up, and it was crazy fast for the time. But I do a lot of video editing, a lot. And this poor laptop was getting hot, really hot. And I put a cooling pad under it and it was still getting hot and I was still pushing it. And eventually I looked at it one day and it had started to warp. Like the keyboard was starting to like come up out of the middle of the laptop. And I thought to myself, that's bad. But I didn't run to Best Buy that afternoon. You know what I mean? I was like, I can limp it further.
Yeah,
And then I limped it. I limped it until it almost caught fire. Like it just stopped working one day. The hard drive wouldn't connect, blah, blah, blah. And there I was without. And I knew that I knew that I knew that I should have proactively taken care of that. And now I'm completely different. I've got a mini PC behind this monitor that's not hooked up to anything. It's like a backup for me to have if something goes wrong. I got a mini Mac down here. I've got a MacBook Pro over there. I've got a 14 terabyte external hard drive. All of my files are backed up on that. Some of the important ones are also on the cloud. I don't keep anything on the hard drives that I need of any computer. I'm always plugged into an external or to the cloud for something. I mean, I've gotten a little weird about it, but it's like that's part of that life happens thing, right? It's like we're running a business and we're just limping things along. I'll buy a new laptop and my wife will see it and she'll go, "Really? You needed a new laptop?"
yeah,
And it's like, I use this for work. We run our business on it. You're checking Facebook and your email. You could use some 12-year-old brick if you wanted to, but we're running a business here on this one. Like it's got to be, and that this whole, maybe I'm going back to that false humility thing, but it's like just because you're working from home or just because you're a freelancer or an agency doesn't mean you don't need great equipment. And I see it go the other way. I see where people bankrupt themselves thinking they need the coolest thing, three vertical screens and all this nonsense, so they can do like Canva designs.
right. And this, I have a Linux box, by the way, that's probably 10 years old. Runs what I use it for is for my team to remote into as a testing box. And so we pay for, and this is a great question. We're paying for this remote software that we're not using at all, really. I have this Linux box running under my desk that's big and bulky, makes a bunch of noise, has a separate monitor. Again, we're not using it. And so I'm like, maybe I should invest. And this is and it's much easier to see when other people are making these dumb decisions than when I'm sitting here making a dumb decision myself. But now that I'm looking at it and talk about it, I'm like, yeah, if I need this, I should buy that, that $400 microcomputer on Amazon and just that should be it. Or maybe it's the Mac Mini. Like why?
Yeah. Why do I have this thing? Um, it's I hate to make things sound so simple. Do you remember the gimbal called Smooth? SMOVE?
No, what is that?
It was about $300. It was a
Mm,
handheld thing, a gimbal. You put your phone in it, and you
mm,
could wiggle it in your phone to go whoop whoop whoop,
hmm.
like stay even, right?
Okay.
I bought it. It sucked. It wouldn't do what it was supposed to do. I emailed them. They said, uh, we can't give you a new one. We can't exchange it, but we can give you a second one at 50% off. Right. And I was like, wow, I feel like I'm getting screwed, but I bought it. So now one for me, one for the kid. I tried to like the new one, same thing. It's junk. Um, and then I've been dealing with this for years. Like now I have the equipment, but I hate it so much I won't use it. It's kind
Hmm.
of like some people like GoPro cameras, some people hate GoPro cameras. I am not a GoPro fan. I got a bunch of them, but every time I use them, it's a pain in the butt.
Hmm.
Same thing. Like I could just use my phone. Why am I hooking up all this other stuff? I could just use my phone. Um, I bought a gimbal off the TikTok shop like 6 weeks ago. It was like $50. It does everything. You put it on a tripod, it tracks you in the driveway, you can talk to it, you can walk around, you can hook up a microphone, you can do it's like, oh my goodness. I was like so burnt from the piece of junk that I paid $300 for, that I just had like a mental block on ever using a gimbal again. But I saw these other creators using them, and I was like, I gotta have it. And that's like what I said, like, how long should you push something, or how long should you, as a professional, go without a certain tool or an upgraded tool because of some preconceived notion?
Can I just pull this full circle before we wrap up here? You just described a reason to hire a copywriter to write your website copy. You just described the reason to hire an outside person to build your website. They do it better, quicker, maybe cheaper, really, when it comes down to it.
Yes. Are you gonna say, "Why don't I hire someone to make my content?" Kurt, why are you
Just
walking around
saying.
with a camera?
No, not that. No, because you're great at that. And I'm not saying you should do that at all. But like, this is the blocker that I get too. Like, well, why did it take me 20 years to hire a copywriter for the Mighty Mo? You know, we've
That I gotta tell you, that's because I spend so much time providing that service to someone else. It felt insulting that somebody would try to pitch me on something that dude, I have a successful agency. I'm paying for this house with what I do, right?
Mhm.
Like that's in the mind, right?
Yeah.
That's our pride welling up, right? But like scripture says, pride comes before the fall. So we have to, like, okay, we got to keep things in check. When I opened my mind and I read what he wrote and I heard him talk, I was like, this guy's completely right. Like everything he's saying, like he would point out mistakes, and he wasn't very gracious about it. He was like, "This is a mistake. This is a mistake. This is a mistake," and I was like, "He is absolutely correct." So, dude, if you can do better, have at it. Here's the money. Get started.
I'll share one more story and then we can wrap because I play in a cake dad band. So there's
Yeah,
four other dads and then there's a mom. So a cake mom and dad band technically.
yeah.
But
Crouched at the starting line, baby.
yeah,
We're going the
uh,
distance.
the guys want to play a song that's not cake. And in my mind, in my prideful place, I'm like, why would we even consider that? We haven't even exhausted the entire cake plethora of songs. And but ultimately, I was like, I went approached it with an open mind, open heart. They recommended a song. One of the guy's wives was like, "You should do this song," and I'm like, "What? Okay, we're now playing requests by our wives. Okay, that's a thing now for us." But I went in with an open mind, open heart. I didn't initially like the song, but when I started to learn it, I was like, "There's some really neat stuff to appreciate here," and now I'm really grateful for the opportunity and we had just a ball practicing it for 2 hours the other night, this one song, and it's tough. And um, again, I think like the more we approach this stuff with humbleness, open mind, open heart, approach change, I should say. Um, the change might be hiring someone to do things that you do perfectly well and you sell to your clients all the time, that maybe there's value in.
I can't believe you left the audience on the cliffhanger like that. Is it an Adam Ant song? Is it
Oh, okay.
some other
So
extraneous performer from the 80s? Like,
So this is the genesis of it. We're playing a benefit in town here, and the theme of the benefit is camp, like summer camp, like 4-H camp or church camp or whatever. And there's like a movie called, I think it's called Red Hot Wet Summer or something like that from 2001, something like that. It stars a bunch of famous comedians like Paul Rudd and I don't know who else, but um, there's a theme song from that's by Jefferson Starship and it's called Jane. And so
yeah,
I know some Jefferson Starship. I've never heard this song. And I was like,
it's a
why are we?
classic.
Yeah. So that's the song. And it's fantastic. And we're like twisting it a little so it sounds like cake.
Of course. Hey, you could lie to people and say that you were inspired by Cake's cover of the song,
Right.
and that'll confuse everybody. Toby, let's wrap this thing up, man. First off, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, Kurt.
Secondly, where can folks get a hold of you if they choose to?
You can find me on LinkedIn at search me, Toby, Toby. Last name is Cryns. You can also go to The Mighty Mo, that ends in mo.com, where we do WordPress and SEO stuff. Kurt, where can we find you?
Same thing, LinkedIn, but I'm not under Toby Crines. I'm under Kurt Von Annen. I'm the only Kurt Von Annen there, easy to find. And then my website is manananomas.com.
All
Boom.
right.
I think that's a wrap, man.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.